Hi, we have Lyndsey here, and I'm so excited that she's here today. Thank you so much for taking your time to meet with us
Thank
today
you.
and share your story. I got to meet you in which was it about a week ago, less than a week
Yes.
ago, in Florida at our Partner Co conference, and we were walking along and we were talking, and you were mentioned something about being in the Dominican Republic and that they didn't make you stand in line. And I said, well, why was that an issue? And you pointed down to your feet, and I didn't realize, but you were a double amputee. And I was just shocked because you weren't walking much differently. I mean, I was just talking to you. There was a whole bunch of people we were walking along, and I was just shocked. So I started asking you about your story, and I just wanted to share it with others to encourage others and who maybe have a similar struggle or something completely different. But your outlook on life was just so contagious. And I just so appreciated hearing about you. So tell me a little bit about your journey and what happened. And I wanted to mention you're a homeschool mom and you
Yes.
run your own business and you are an amazing person. So go ahead, please.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Amy, for inviting me to this. I'm excited to do this. And I'm glad that I was in contagious as far as like my attitude and everything, because I wasn't feeling the best
Aw.
that during the weekend. And so I just felt like I was really just like blah. So I'm really glad that I showed that bubbly, you know, contagious personality. But my story, so I have congenital scoliosis. I was born with curvature of the spine, and you and I have that similar stuff. I even showed you, I think, my spine where it's like literally like collapsing on itself. It's awful.
Right. And
But
was yours was an S curve that was coming, you were collapsing
mine,
forward, right? Because that's similar to what
yes.
mine was.
Mine was, if you actually look at my neck, it's very crooked. So it starts in my
Okay.
neck from like C1 through C7. And I have pictures and stuff that's, yeah, it's pretty bad. And when I was 12, my curvature was noticeably worse. I went to, back in 1999, went to my ortho doctor in like January. Everything was fine. Well, by June, it had significantly gotten worse. And
Oh,
my mom took me to back to see him. And because of the way my spine is, and I'm trying to find a good photo, how bad it was. I actually have a partially formed vertebrae. I don't know if it's going to show. Oh, there it is.
great. Oh, I see it now. I see it.
So there's a
Yes.
part, yeah. And because of that, I couldn't have like the back brace and different things. They had to actually put rods in my back to just stabilize my spine, not straighten it because that would paralyze me, but to just stabilize it so it wasn't getting worse. But prior to my surgery, I went on vacation, ended up with multiple spider bites while I was on vacation. Didn't think
Oh,
anything of it. I would wake up with more and more bites, and eventually I got sick. I started having fevers, getting sick, all of this stuff. My body was reacting,
right.
and we went to the hospital just to make sure it wasn't like a brown recluse bites or something. They looked at it and they said, it's not a brown recluse spider bite. It's nothing poisonous. You just have a lot of bites. Take some Benadryl, go home and rest. Well, that was on a Friday. The following Monday, I started donating my own blood in preparation for my surgery.
Right.
Again, not thinking anything of this. At that time, they didn't ask um, if you've had GI issues in the past couple weeks. Like now, they'll ask if you have issues. They recommend that you don't donate blood. Well, they didn't do that at that time. And I donated my blood in preparation for the surgery, not thinking of anything. Well, when I had my surgery and they were putting the blood back in me, before I even made it to recovery out of the OR, I started to go into DIC septic shock, which is the worst case of sepsis. My body shut down. I started to
Yes.
bleed out internally. I had major organ failure and
Oh,
had 7 strokes as well
you
because
had
I
such,
bled out.
oh my
Yeah, my dad
goodness.
said that looking at the CT scans of my brain, it looked like fireworks had gone off in my brain. So
And you
this
were
was
how old
all
at this point?
12. I went into
12.
the hospital August
Ah,
23rd, 1999. I turned
wow.
13 in the hospital. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. And a day or two after my surgery, CDC came back and said that I had a bacteria. It's a rare bacteria that grows in cold environments. So while it was in my body, the fevers, knowing what we know now, that's a natural response. My body was killing it off. But when they took the blood out of me and put it in a refrigerated space for a month, it was multiplying. It's 1 in 4 bacteria that grows in cold environments. So it just kept multiplying. And there was enough bacteria in my first bag of blood to kill 2 full-grown horses.
oh my
And
goodness.
the bacteria is in the same family as the Black Plague. So when they went to put the blood back in me, like I said, I just instantly went into shock and my body shut down and I lost circulation to both of my feet. And so I went in August 23rd for my back surgery. By September 29th, I had my amputations. And by October
12,
28th,
13.
which is, yeah. And then on October 28th was my 13th birthday. And that's when I stood and walked for the first time on my
Oh,
birthday. And so um, it's been 25 years now since that all happened. It'll be 26 this year. Um, being able to just share my story is an honor. Like God has blessed me completely.
oh,
So I tell people this is God's story. I'm just the vessel. And so I
oh,
get to share that. But that is kind of how how my story kind of where it starts in a sense with
wow.
that.
Wow. That is incredible. And now that must have been really challenging, not only physically, but to do that as a teen. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and just to go through that. And I actually figured out I had scoliosis at 13, and they wanted to do surgery at that
Oh,
point. And I put it off for several years before I had the rods put in. So, yeah, so I could my heart goes out to you. So, how did you get through all of that challenging time
I think a
up to
lot, well, I shouldn't say I think. I know a lot of it was my faith. Because I had difficult times. I mean, it was hard. There were times, and I still had times where it's frustrating. I miss having feeds, but I'm not one to look back and be like, oh, woe is me.
now?
Right from the get-go, I actually remember this was my very first memory that I remember. It was I have all my hospital notes. So I looked back on the dates and then I looked at my mom's journal and everything. But on October 11th, while I was in the hospital, is when I actually, because of my strokes and everything, that's when my memory started to repath. And that's when it clicked that I had my amputations. And I remember asking my mom because they were taking the casts off. At that time, they had casts, and they were taking my casts off. And my mom's explaining to me, like, okay, when they take these off, you don't have feet. And I remember like I was like, what do you mean I don't have feet? Like, what am I gonna do about walking? Like, what about cheerleading? I was in cheerleading, I was in volleyball, and she's like, and my mom's biggest thing was, you're gonna be able to do everything that you've done. We're just gonna do it a little bit different.
Aw,
And
so
she quoted a
encouraging.
Bible verse, and I can never remember the reference, but it talks about bringing our mourning into dancing.
I
And my
love that
mom
one.
just kept saying that was a verse that just really stuck to her the whole time when I was in the hospital. And she kept telling me that. She's like, we're going to turn this into, this mourning into dancing. You're going to dance again. And I went back into cheerleading, but like the part that I love the most is that was on October 11th of 1999. 15 years later, on October 11th of 2014 is when I married my husband. And so I
Wow.
actually did dance again.
Aw.
And so, and I didn't know that when we planned our wedding. Like I didn't know that date. I didn't know that that was anything special. It was just a date that I picked out because the OSU football had an off week and I picked that week that day. Um, so that was that was something that was special, is just that full circle, how that worked too.
Isn't it
Um,
amazing how
but
God just makes that happen?
yeah, it is. It is. But
Yes.
I mean, I've had some struggles. I've had some difficult times. My early or my young adult years were hard with dating. But I've just kept my eyes on God and have just kept a positive attitude. I mean, when people around me are negative, I'm just like, okay, you're negative, Nancy. Like, I
Right.
mean, we
How
all
can
have
you
our
be negative
moments.
about such a little thing when I've got this huge issue?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Are you able to show us what it looks like? I know some people
Yeah.
might be curious. If you're
So
comfortable
I'll
with
show
that.
this picture, and I
Okay.
mean, I could stand up too, but I don't know how it would all look with my background.
Yeah, that's
But I
fine.
have this picture. This was actually from the event. See if
Okay.
it's
Yeah. Oh,
not
yes.
very
Beautiful.
pretty.
Yes. There you are in your
And so you
dress.
kind of see my
Yes.
legs there. I'm trying
And
to,
where does it start? Um, where did they have to cut it?
so mine are 8 inches below the knees. So I'm a double
Okay.
below the knee amputee. So I'm missing both of my feet. I still have
Okay.
my knees.
Okay.
So that is a big thing because I can still kind of be mobile with my legs off. So
Wow. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
real and vulnerable with us. I know that that is really challenging, but I love how you're able to share your story. So tell me about you were telling me that you were with another company for a while taking
Mhm.
their products. Can you tell me a little bit about those products and kind of your health challenge or your health journey with that?
Yeah. So after I had our second son, I gained a lot of weight. You know, hormones were crazy. And I ended up doing this other product that it was a great product in a sense because I did lose weight. My husband lost weight. We felt great,
How much did you
but
lose if you don't mind me asking?
40 pounds. I lost
Okay.
40.
Okay.
And
That's a
yeah,
lot.
it is. And I felt great. I felt wonderful. Um, I even was a coach for this
Okay.
company and brought a lot of people on board and everything. And I loved it. I did very well when it came to the business aspect of it also. But then I was almost around 2.5 year mark. I started to feel really bad. My hormones were out of whack. I started kind of going down the rabbit hole of researching things. And then at the same time, there were a lot of other health coaches doing the same thing. They were realizing like they were not feeling better. Their hormones were out of whack. Um, it helped for a short term, but not a long term thing. People would get off the plan and gain all their weight back and then some.
Wow.
And I was like, that's not what I'm preaching to my people. Like, this is not what I want or what I thought I was in. And I started realizing that it was a very heavy soy-based product that they were
Okay. Yes.
selling. And the products I was eating 5 times a day. Technically, after you lose your weight, you're supposed to get off the plan and only use it to maintain. Well, every time I would do that, I would gain my weight back. And so I
Oh,
just stayed on what they called the 5-in-1 plan, where I ate 5 of their little meals and one big meal. And I spent 2.5 years, no fruit. And
oh,
if you know
wow.
anything about yeah. And the more I learned about your gut microbiome, I'm like, you need fruit for a healthy gut microbiome. Like there are reasons God
Absolutely.
created this. And so I really just was like, I don't like this product. I'm not liking it. I was eating 700 to 900 calories a day and was still
That's
gaining
it.
weight. And that
And
was
what do
it.
we say with our company? How much should we be eating
1200.
as a
1200 you need
minimum? And more
at a
if we're
min.
working
Yes.
out, right?
Yes. And I was like, and even with me working out, I was like, they said, oh, just 1,000. And I was like, okay, like whatever, I'll follow this. But then I started gaining weight and I'm like, well, why am I gaining weight? This doesn't make sense. And then I started to learn about the calorie deficit. And I was like, I can't continue to get a paycheck from this company when I know what I know. And so my husband and I made a very difficult decision on us financially. We left that company I
And you
tried
said that
other
you had brought your husband home, so he didn't have to,
yes.
he didn't have to work
Yeah.
outside the home with what you were doing.
Hmm.
And so you
Yeah.
felt like you lost faith.
Yeah. So we 2 months, no, 3 months before we left that company, we decided it was the right time to bring him home. He wanted to start his own business. And I was like, well, this is the right time. I'm doing really well in here in this company. Go ahead and bring it home. It'll be a little typo. I think we can do it. And then 3 months later, I was like, I really prayed about it. And I was like, this is not, I don't want to keep I don't want to be deceitful to people. And so I was like, if I'm not going to use this product because of what it's doing to my health, I can't promote it for others. So once I got my last bonus, I did a live on Facebook and I was like, I'm done. I'm leaving this
Wow.
company. And I couldn't post anything else what I was doing on Facebook because of their policies and procedures for a whole year. But it's been 2 years now. So I can talk about other stuff. And I'm glad because these drops have been the products have been a game changer. And I haven't
So,
even really been full into it really until recently. So
so tell me, how were you introduced to the drops? Did somebody force them on you?
yes, so my upline, Amy Bush, she was introduced to it by Diana, who also was in the company we were in previous and had the same thing. Um, And after so many things, my friend Amy came to me and I was like, I'm not doing any more companies. I'm not doing any more stuff. And at this point, I had gained all of my 40 pounds back and
Oh,
more.
you must have been so frustrated.
I was so mad. And it was less than a year that I gained it
Less than a
all.
year. Wow.
And I was so mad. And it was like, and I even followed their food stuff. Like I transitioned completely. Like I did all of the things. And I'm like, why am I still gaining the weight? Like literally I'd wake up and I'm like, where did this come from? And I had found out, I'd learned over time after learning that I needed to clean up my gut microbiome, get rid of all that soy, but what the soy does to the hormones. And I knew, okay, I needed to clean up my hormones. I needed to balance them out. And when my friend Amy gave me these drops, she never said anything about them being body balancing. She just was like, try them, do them. And I was like, all right. And I'll be honest, I was not on it completely when I started it last April. It wasn't until the fall when I was like, and I started learning more about it. I started to get into the business. She actually signed me up as for the business without even telling me. She was just like, "You're gonna
Wow.
do it." I was like, "Okay." She's my best friend, so she has all my information. And she just
Wow.
signed me up,
Credit
and I was
card.
like, "Oh, okay." And um, I started getting these paychecks, and then people asking about the drops, and I'm like, "Well, I don't even know what I'm doing." And I was like, okay. So I literally was very blindly doing stuff. And I kept, I mean, I was sitting here with all of my like rank, and I was like, every month I'm getting new stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And, um, but then it was around September, I did a Helene relief. And I kind of really stalled out on my business because I focused heavily on that. We did a bunch of relief stuff, huge stuff. Um, but then I started realizing, okay, like this really is a good business. And I started to do the Zooms, getting into the IPAs, learning more about it. I'm like, okay, I need to follow this. I think that I can get even better benefits than just the little bit of weight that I've lost. I mean, I lost 12 pounds right away, and I wasn't even following the plan. And so I was like, okay, let me see what I do if I actually went into it full force. And I lost more weight. And then the holidays came. And then we had the 28-day challenge. And I was like, okay, I'm going to full force work out everything. And, in 28 days, I lost 9 pounds, 8 inches overall. And then we go to Destin. And I actually was in Punta Cana right before Destin and flew from Punta Cana straight to Destin, and then hearing more about what these products do. And I just, on my Facebook, I just went crazy. I was like, as they said in Destin, my hair caught on fire. Like, I was like,
Yes.
okay, these products are amazing. And then the new stuff that they brought out, I'm like, this is
Yes, I know.
phenomenal.
The
And
advantage. It's helped burn
yes,
even more fat, right?
and it is, yes. And then you add in like the sugar stop, it's like a trifecta. Like, it's
Yes,
amazing.
it's the trifecta. Yep.
It is, but I'm talking to my parents. So my dad Monday had his gallbladder removed
Oh,
and he had a heart attack. So my dad had a heart attack and his fourth heart attack in December, right before Christmas. And he actually went septic
oh
because
wow.
his gallbladder failed. And he actually had a gallbladder, a drain from, I think it was like December 17th until just this past Monday. And I'm sitting there listening to like Dr. Strand, and I'm like, okay, he needs this, he needs this, he needs this, and this.
Yes, get
We
him on
all need
all the
all of
stuff.
this.
Yes, get him
Yeah,
healthy. Yes.
yes. And so that's just kind of where it's just exploded. And then same with my business. I enrolled 3 brand partners while I was in Destin. And I'm just like, it's just I like I said, my hair was on fire and I just ran with it. And the business, when you hear from so many other companies who say, oh, our business, our comp plan is the best in the industry. Like, this one is actually phenomenal. The
And
things
how
that
do
they
you like,
have.
what's the difference between what your other company that you worked with and you made quite a bit on that? How is it different?
Um, the biggest thing that I noticed is this is my business. So the business before, if I didn't follow what the company said, like my Facebook, I couldn't, if I wanted to even have a color street party, I couldn't do it. Like, there's a
Okay.
lot of, yeah, a lot of policies that really restricted me. They technically, while I was on their products, owned my social media.
Wow. I didn't know
It
they
was
could do that.
actually in their policy and procedures, and I didn't know that either until I left, and I was like, oh.
Wow.
And so that was like things like that I was like, this, I don't like this. And the fact that I had many friends who actually had their business taken away from them. Like, they even had LLCs, all of these things, and they had it taken away from them because they didn't follow the guidelines of their company. So coming to Partner Co. and hearing like, this is my business. And that was the hardest thing for me, was when I'd ask people like, okay, well, what do we post? What do we say to people? And they're like, well, just tell them. And I'm like, how? And they're like, just, it's your business. And I'm like, what do you mean I can do this? I can actually do this and I'm not going to get in trouble. I kind of had some PTSD actually, but I've been able to like have my business, do it my way, listen to what's working for other people. If it works for me, great. Or you pivot and find another way. So it really is helping people. And I love homeopathic remedies. I love that kind of stuff. And so knowing that the stringent tests that they go through for every single product was one of the things that I loved. So knowing that I'm offering these products to people that actually help people have been like, that's been a game changer for my business for that. Um, but I think there's what, 8 or 9 different ways to get paid.
Yes.
And that right there, I'm like, it's phenomenal to know that you can get paid so many different ways and get paid really well with these different avenues, these different ways to do it. And like I said, you can kind of do it how you want to do it in a
That's
sense.
right.
Like, there's
That
no
freedom,
like
freedom and
that
flexibility, right?
freedom. Yes, freedom and flexibility. And just, I mean, I don't have it with me, my notebook, but I have so many notes of just the comp plan that I'm like, I was just blown away by the plan versus what I've had in the past. Um,
Absolutely.
and so I don't even know the comp plan that well. Like I'm still learning the ranks, all of these different things that I'm learning over time. But I know I'm getting, and my money's coming in.
Right, right. That's
And so I'm
wonderful.
like, I love that.
Right, right. Well, one last question before we
Yes.
close out. We were talking, and you talked about the difference in people's bodies and faces
Yes.
compared to the other products that you used to sell and these products. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because that's one of the things I loved. I was telling you about being at that conference is you meet so many people, and no matter where they are on their health journey, they look vibrant, they look healthy, their eyes are shining, they're moving around, they're joyful, instead of like when I go to certain places, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm sick, I'm not feeling well, this is hurting, this is aching. It was a completely different feel. So tell me a little bit about what you were saying.
So the last company that I was with, we had, the first couple months, once you lost the weight, your body just naturally feels better. Your
Right.
joints feel better. Like that's just no matter what you do, you're going to feel better because you're not carrying around so much of that excess weight. But what I noticed over time is I was watching people and their skin just looked very dull. It didn't look vibrant.
Was it the soy, do you
Um,
think?
I think it was the soy,
Okay.
very because I would look at like their before and afters, and I'm like, you actually look better even with the weight. Your
Okay.
skin, you just looked more alive.
Right.
The eyes just looked, they just, I don't know, radiated early, before, and then you'd lose the weight. And like I said early on, because even I was like that when I go back to my before and afters, I'm like, oh, I can tell I looked good. But then I was on the products for 2.5 years and I started to notice I was breaking out like I was a teenager again. And it was
Wow.
all right here, which is hormone. It's all the chin and and I was like, why am I breaking out? Like I haven't broken out like this since I was a teenager. Um, I was having skin issues. One of the weirdest things, I would go if I was in the sun, um, I actually would break out and get third-degree burns. And I was using like high SPF, like, and I wouldn't even be in the sun that long. Actually, 2 years ago when I went to Punta Cana, I had blisters all over.
That's scary.
And I was like, what is this? Well, when at first I was like, well, is it my medication? I'm like, well, it can't be my medication. I've been on it for 15 years. I started to research the soy-based stuff. And the soy actually reacts from the sun. And I was having almost like an allergic reaction. And I learned that more and more people who were using that product were having that same issue also. And I was like, that's
Uh,
odd. Like your body shouldn't be doing that. And I've learned more about sun care too. But I'm like, that's not normal.
right,
And
right.
so things like that, but being on the drops, like the skin, you're just radiating, your body is normalizing. I mean, it's just everything, even down to like my hair is much softer.
It's
And I'm like, what
gorgeous. I
is
can see
going
it
on with
shining
my
right there in
hair?
the
Thank
video.
you. And I'm like, it's just crazy. Just all these little things and my hair was really dry on the other
Okay,
products. And I
okay.
think it was the soy too.
You weren't getting enough probably nutrients, honestly,
And I
you
wasn't
know,
getting
your minerals
nutrients.
and
Yep.
nutrients. And what were you saying about
Yeah.
the faces? That it
So
almost,
like the face, almost kind of like with the shot. I don't know if you see people who, when they're using the shots, they get that sunken
yes,
face. And that's what it was. And again, I'm also learning that the soy, it was it was taking all like the muscle. It was eating at your muscle in a sense, which when you look at even or not the drops, the shots, I think that it's doing that too. Um, you just have that sunken. look
Yeah.
to yourself, and you just don't look healthy.
Right.
You might be thin, but you're what we call like a skinny fat. You're skinny, like just unhealthy. Even though
Right.
you're thin, you're extremely unhealthy.
Right. Right. And I
There's
love that our food plan that they recommend doesn't encourage, it has no soy in it, no dairy,
Mhm,
and a lot of
mhm.
other hormone disruptors. And because a lot of people don't understand when you're start taking this or trying to get
Cheese.
healthy, you need to move away from those hormone disruptors while we're balancing and
Hmm.
healing your hormones. So wow. Well, that is
Yes.
incredible. You know what? I just wanted to tell you, you are so inspirational.
Thank
And
you.
you really touched my heart when I met you, especially since we've been through the same kind of surgeries. And obviously, you
Yeah.
had some other rough outcome after yours. And just, I can't imagine going through that at 12 and 13 at those awkward years. And instead of stopping and instead of giving up, you are continuing to build your business, have a beautiful family. And I'm just so thankful and proud of you. And so I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. And I wish you all
Thank
the
you.
best with your business. And, as you've heard, this is a great opportunity working with this company. I have just felt so poured into and loved on. And it's not, I was just talking to somebody yesterday who said they felt like they were in a silo with another business they did. They didn't have the support. And that is not the case with this one. Like we're always encouraging, supporting on the phone, on Zooms, meeting face to face to be there for each other. So I think that's a huge difference too. So thank you
Yes.
so much. And